my God. My sweet God.
It's been a brutal journey.
It has been a brutal journey.
But we're back.
We're back. Why? We're doing this tonight on a Friday. Normally we're kind of a Monday, Tuesday recording outfit. But I went to the King Gizzard concert in Asheville on Monday, and that fucked everything up. But we're recording on Friday, the Friday before Halloween. Super spooky time. I feel like, I mean, it's an absurd thing to say, but I feel like I want more horror. I didn't get enough horror this season. I mean, I still have some time. I got some weekend days ahead of me.
What have you been doing, man?
I have been watching horror nonstop, but it hasn't been enough. I need more.
What?
I need more.
Nice. So, I mean, just diving right in. It's Halloween. This episode will release on Halloween. Happy Halloween, everybody.
The leaves are falling down. The jack-o'-lanterns are out. My neighborhood's got kick-ass Halloween decorations. I mean, like, every morning I walk the dog, and it's just a joy to observe the splendor.
Very nice. Very nice.
I've eaten all of the Halloween candy. I bought 4 trick-or-treaters like 2 weeks ago.
It happens.
So I'll have to go get something, I guess.
Yeah, man, I'm excited. And for today's holiday, we have something a little special. John Carpenter's Halloween.
Yeah, we did it. We did the holidays name movie.
It's
movie
time.
Name. It's time.
It's that time.
It is. Well, I'm super pumped because it's a John Carpenter flick, which, like,
it's the one that put him really on the map.
It's true.
In a big way.
I think you could say Assault on Precinct 13 was also pretty influential, but this is the one. I mean, it's like the horror one. I think we talked about Trick or Treat being like close to the quintessential Halloween movie. I mean, like, are we gonna kid ourselves? Like, this is the one. I mean, it's this fucking title, like
it is the one, and which honestly is a brilliant kind of piece of marketing from John Carpenter almost. Diving into this movie, I was interested to learn that it was originally called The Babysitter Murders, which is a little bit more on the nose and obviously could happen at any time of year. But by associating it with the holiday, it actually got theatrical runs around Halloween time multiple years in a row after it was released. And, that's what, it helped it become a staple,
Yeah, I mean, I think the Babysitter Murders were, kind of, loosely based off of, what a sequel would look like to Black Christmas, which is, one of the original slasher films. At the time that this film was being written, or I guess, when the script was awarded to John Carpenter, there were, 15 other people trying to make a movie called Halloween. This is, the one that triumphed, and aren't we so lucky that it was?
John Carpenter, obviously, we've talked about him in a lot of episodes, but, his first film was Dark Star, followed by Assault on Precinct 13, and this was his third one. And then later, we get The Thing and Escape from New York and
Escape from L.A. Don't forget Escape from L.A. In the Mouth of Madness.
In the Mouth of Madness. So many good ones. So many good ones.
The original budget was $300,000 US, which in today dollaroos would be, I mean, I don't know, not adjusted for 2022's inflation. Don't know. I guess we could do some math, but it'd be about 1.5 million, which is still a low budget for a film of this caliber.
Yeah, it's wild. Extremely wild. And it made over 100 million. It's made hundreds of millions of dollars and spawned a franchise. There's 13 films now. How many of those have you seen?
I honestly probably every single one except for whatever the most recent one is. Halloween
really?
Ends
no
or
shit.
Whatever.
No shit.
Yeah.
Interesting, because obviously there was there's multiple timelines. The universe gets pretty crazy. Some of them have cults.
Well, they retconned it. They retconned it all with the first of the new Jamie Lee Curtis ones.
Yes, which I guess are directed by David Gordon Green, who's the guy who did Pineapple Express and Your Highness. And all of those new Halloween movies I learned are co-written by Danny McBride.
Yeah, I did know that. So I haven't seen the most recent one.
So are they funny, or I think only like the first one of that new trilogy got high ratings.
I wouldn't call it funny. I mean, they're pretty like traditionally Halloween. I feel like they're honestly a pretty fair shake at John Carpenter's, masterpiece. At least like paying homage to it. But then again, I haven't seen the most recent one. No, I mean I got some issues with like Halloween Kills or whatever, but we'll let it ride. We'll let it ride. It was still pretty fun.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
And we've never gotten like a crossover with him, like no like Michael versus Jason, Michael versus Freddy. And he was kind of like the OG.
Kind of is. I mean, definitely he was the prototypical modern slasher with like so many tropes were established with this film and brought together, like the last girl or like the virgin purity,
Yeah,
making
people
the evil
people
force
being
not kill you.
people getting punished for fucking and doing drugs. He also was like, I mean, certainly not the only, but like one of the first big, I guess, like horror villains who has some supernatural air to him. So like, I mean, we get Freddy and Jason, which are both just like basically,
Interesting.
indestructible. And you kind of I mean, like it's less overt with Michael Myers, but like, I mean, the dude takes like 6 bullets to the chest, and like, I mean, there's just like no killing him, and you don't see him, and he moves in like almost impossible ways.
No, that's a good point. I mean, they leave it kind of ambiguous. Like he looks like he's a man, but he behaves in some supernatural ways, like he can just take a million bullets or whatever. And he is apparently the embodiment of pure evil. Like they mention it several times throughout the film, and I think they expand on all of this mythology in the later films. But in the first one, they don't really go too deep into it.
They added like a little bit for the made for TV version, or not made for TV, but the TV release. Correction. They filmed some additional footage while they were filming Halloween 2. Like some of which includes like Dr. Loomis talking to like a young Michael, and then him, like elaborating how he spent like 8 years trying to understand him, and then the next 7 years trying to keep him locked away forever. There is a scene, and I mean this is like such trivium, but Jamie Lee Curtis has like a towel on her head or whatever when she's on the phone, and they had to do that because she'd cut her hair, so her hair was like much shorter than when they had filmed the original one. Little stage trickarooski there.
There you go. Classic,
smart move. But yes, they've continued to expand upon it, and like, I mean, at this point, where I've left off with Halloween Kills, like, I mean, he's basically indestructible, right? Like, short of a fucking asteroid raining down from space and like landing on top of him and causing a K2 extinction event across the planet, like the dude's just survived everything.
Right. This movie, when I read the story of John Carpenter making this film, it makes me feel like I could do something similar, because it just seems like it was so effortless for him. He co-wrote this script with Deborah Hill, who plays a big part in the story, really, but...
His girlfriend at the time.
Oh, was it?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay, interesting.
Yep.
Well, yeah, they're like longtime collaborators, and she introduced a lot of the concepts. Like, it's based off a town where she grew up, and her experience as a babysitter, and a lot of the dialogue and the female perspective is from her.
All of the female dialogue was written by her, which I think it like shows, because it's I don't know if it passes the Bechdel test, but it was like a fucking cut above the rest of like what dude writers were churning out for women at the time.
Right. Yeah, and it's nuts because they wrote this screenplay in 10 days. John Carpenter wrote the score in 3 days, which we'll get to that more later. Then they filmed it in 20 days. and then it just made hundreds of millions of dollars or whatever. It's fucking insane.
I mean, I think it like grossed 70 million in America across a couple of years. Obviously more long term.
Right.
But like theatrical grossings. John Carpenter took like no fees in the making of this film, and he got 10% of the gross.
He had a few conditions for this, and it was that he had complete creative control, which was the right move. And he wanted to put his name in front of the title, John Carpenter's Halloween, which was a bold move and a wise like branding decision overall, because it really brought his name into the limelight.
Well, and it also became like kind of a standard for a little while there. Like they would do like Wes Craven's, X, or
yeah, and I think that they were like kind of emulating him in a way, because he was one of the first ones.
Pretty, but it paid off, right? Like,
and this was John Carpenter's first foray into horror filmmaking, and that ended up kind of being his trademark throughout the rest of his career, horror, sci-fi.
And we've talked about, just jumping back to like the scores that John Carpenter does with his films. Like I feel like they're just such a quintessential part of the movie. He like really did it right. He has stated in an interview that he can't read or write music traditionally. He just knows how to play a keyboard.
Fuck, it's so good. It's all synth, cool synth music. That soundtrack is like the soundtrack of the Halloween holiday for me. We had that CD growing up, and we'd play it on Halloween for the trick-or-treaters and scare them or whatever. So ooky spooky. And there's kind of like an anecdotal story that he showed the film to someone in an early cut without the music, and they hated it. And said it wasn't scary, and then he showed it to them again with the music, and they totally like reassessed their critique.
The score is so important to a horror movie, man. I mean, like, it can make or break a lot of scenes. I mean, I love him for his scores. Like, I mean, all of my favorite John Carpenter movies, I think, just have great scores.
And he writes them for almost all of his movies.
I know. It's so badass. John Carpenter's such a fucking cool guy.
Yes, but it's one of the most successful independent films of all time, which is just absurd.
It is. Dollar for dollar, is it more successful than Evil Dead?
It's a good question. I don't actually know, but I would imagine so. I mean, I don't know. I grew up watching this film, and I really did watch it on Halloween, and this is like what introduced me to the slasher genre. And I feel like, yes, it's a bigger name that's probably more widely known than the Evil Dead even.
I mean, I would say without a doubt it's more widely known than the Evil Dead. I mean, the Evil Dead has a huge cult following, but like this has like a pop cult following. Like, I mean, it is pervasive, I would say, like in the American and probably global Halloween experience at this point. Like, I mean, the mask, the Michael Myers mask, has been like a frequent flyer for every freaking Halloween season in every town across America.
That's iconic.
For like 40 years. And it's also, I mean, just so we can say it now, it's a William Shatner mask.
So good. So good. They just painted it white and like pulled the hair back and widened the eyes, and it is creepy. It is unnerving. That is a little bit of blue. Mask.
They did a little bit of blue with the white to give it a more kind of like humanish, maybe like corpse-ish appearance almost.
It's uncomfortable. That comes at you. It's terrifying.
And I think it is, like, in my mind, obviously better. I mean, because, like, one, it, like, plays into the holiday, right? Like, because people can wear masks. But I think it's a better mask than Jason. I'll just go ahead and say it.
Well, which came first?
I believe Halloween came first.
I believe so, too.
Yeah, it did.
I feel like Jason was, like, 1 year later, maybe?
Yeah.
1980, so a couple years later. Yeah. And yes, it's a better mask. And Michael Myers is always my favorite.
He's my favorite as well. I mean, I think like by just about every criteria, Halloween is a more like masterfully composed film. And I love Friday the 13th.
Oh, it's perfect.
It is, but I think that Halloween just takes the cake. Like there's just
No, I prefer Halloween. I prefer Halloween.
Yeah.
And I kind of liked the Rob Zombie remake. I guess that one wasn't that popular, but it really sticks with me, the image of like the kid getting bullied and then he like picks up that log, and I won't like spoil it totally, but it's dark.
It is dark. Yeah, it's like the intro scene, right?
Yeah, and it's pretty much like the best part of the movie. I feel like they could have just made it. He could have made it like a 15-minute short film, and it would have been better.
Yeah, nobody pays for those though.
Correct.
Certainly not back then, at any rate. Yeah, I mean, this movie has just got so much going for it. I mean, would you say that it is the most iconic horror franchise of all time?
Oh, interesting.
I'm not saying it's necessarily the best. Is it the most iconic? Which, I mean, you could argue it's like kind of the same, but I think it's a little bit different.
I mean, that's a good question. I'm trying to think of one that's more iconic right now, you know?
I mean, it's like pretty much
a series.
It's Friday the 13th, or it's Nightmare on Elm Street.
I mean, if you count like Alien, maybe Alien, but it's not really hard. It's not really the same thing. I mean, in some ways it's similar.
It's sci-fi horror, but then like, I mean, the later ones, I mean, at least 2 was like more action, and then 3 is just like, it's pretty far out there.
Yes, it's pretty fucking iconic, though.
I think he's probably the most iconic. I mean, it's like, in my mind, it's him or Jason. I think
some people might like, you know, it's all very subjective. There's also a bunch of like Dracula films and just whatever, you know, who knows?
Yeah, but Dracula, I mean, like, Dracula vampires, it's like a big kind of blurred together genre at this point. You know, we don't get a whole lot of like just Dracula shit.
That's true.
I don't know.
People decided that wasn't enough anymore.
No matter what, between Friday the 13th, Halloween, and the entire Nightmare on Elm Street series, there's just been so many sequels. It is like the ultimate studio cash grab. I do want to be clear.
It's insane. Video games, books.
13 for Halloween, man. Like, just Halloween.
Yeah.
We're not even tallying in Friday the 13th and
oh yeah, sure.
And Freddy Krueger films. Like, this was
that
like
genre was massive.
Dude, they all churned.
They all got in on it.
Wishmaster
got in on it. They all got in on it.
Well, again, Wishmaster is just like a hodgepodge of failed fucking, like, you know, other horror movies. But
fair.
We do. Well, I mean, yes, you're right. Wishmaster did have a number of sequels, more than it deserved. So did Leprechaun. I mean, like, there's a lot. Not enough original Creepshow, though.
So, I guess originally John Carpenter and Deborah Hill did not want it to be a series, and they wanted it just to be a standalone film. That's kind of how they wrote it. That was the intention. And then when it was insisted that it was going to be a series, I guess they just bribed John Carpenter with a shit ton of money or whatever. He said that he hated it, and the only thing that got him through writing that sequel was a 6-pack of Budweiser a day.
Very nice, very nice.
And interestingly enough, Halloween 3 is the only one that doesn't include Michael Myers, not Mike Myers.
Yeah, not Austin Powers / the Love Guru.
So the only one that doesn't include him is Halloween 3, The Season of the Witch, which was directed by Tommy Lee Wallace, who was heavily involved with Dark Star, the original Halloween film. It's like John Carpenter's right-hand man, his childhood friend. He was the production designer, art director. Well, he went on to direct Halloween 3, and it was kind of John Carpenter and Deborah Hill idea that maybe it would be like Halloween would be an anthology of movies where every episode would be its own story that like revolving around Halloween, the holiday.
That would have been pretty fucking cool if they had like been able to follow through on it.
Well, I think Halloween 3 was kind of panned at the time, but has grown a cult following.
It was panned at the time, but again, like, I mean, it is so important that you have that, like, succession of success. Like, you just keep hitting good hits because, it's show business, baby. You have one flop, like, they're going to pull that idea and pump out what makes money, which is, at least at the time, low effort sequels, like total rehashings of the original plot.
For sure. So I guess the film is supposed to take place in Illinois, but since they filmed it in like Southern California, they had to like, paint tons of leaves by hand and then like spread them around and try to make it look like the Midwest.
Yeah, the budget was so low that Jamie Lee Curtis was actually helping like rake leaves up for that that famous scene.
And she was like an unknown at the time, or had very little acting experience, but was the child of two famous actors.
Her like her entire budget for like wardrobe was like $100, and it was like entirely spent at like Gap or Old Navy or something like that. Which, like, as we know, modern movies, like the wardrobe budget's absurd.
Right. And then, of course, Dr. Sam Loomis, who's the psychologist who like studies Michael Myers and like basically tries to be the hero by the end, is the hero.
Dude, Loomis is such a fucking badass. Like,
Loomis is a badass.
I was thinking about watching today. It's like, dude, this guy was a psychologist who's like, he was faced with the ultimate evil, and he's dedicated his entire life purpose. Like, his singular flow of thought in his mind is just stopping this bad man.
Stop the evil. This
I love when he like when he's talking to like, I don't know, like the director of the funny farm that fucking Michael escaped from. Can we say that? Can I say funny farm?
I think that's still allowed. I mean, it's the name of that Chevy. Remember that Chevy Chase movie?
Oh, it was the name of that Chevy Chase movie. Excellent. All right, cool. Still in play. So,
yeah, that qualifies it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, because Chevy Chase isn't controversial or like loathed by large groups of people at all.
He hasn't been canceled.
He is like sort of. He was like canceled light.
He
like,
was kind of, yeah.
There were no hard allegations that could stick on him other than being like kind of an asshole.
I think he kind of like just looked senile enough that they were just like, okay, old man, let's get you back to bed.
Did you make a poopy? But it anyways, when they're like going up to he's talking to the director of the sanitarium. That's the correct term. You should use that. Sanitarium.
Sanitarium.
Which, I mean, don't you miss the good old days of sanitariums? We really knew how to keep, the loonies off the streets back then.
Hide them away, man. Out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah, there we go, man. Utopia. There would be less human shit on the roads.
I mean, Michael Myers is pure evil. What else would you do with him? Either he needs to be executed, or you need to lock him away forever. But he seems to get out 13 times.
Given that he's escaped so many times, maybe like the next time you catch him, you just like cut his fucking head off.
I mean, do they ever? They never kill him, right? There's a few movies where like you think he's dead, but he comes back.
But they make another one, exactly.
How do you kill pure evil? It's it's kind of one of those duality of good and evil. You can't kill evil.
You have to do like what the Ottomans did to Vlad Tepes III, or allegedly, per folklore or whatever, and they just like cut him into a bunch of pieces and put it into boxes and just sent it to like the 5 corners of the known world.
I like it. I like it.
Just to keep him from ever returning, But so anyways, Dr. Loomis is talking to like the head of the sanitarium, and the guy's like, well, you were his doctor. If we needed extra precautions, you should have told us. Or sort of said something, and he's like, I told everybody! I get it. He's a man hell-bent on a cause.
That would be frustrating.
Yeah, dude, yeah. Your worst nightmare, like the world's pure personified
He's not
evil.
even a human. He's just evil incarnate.
and he's gotten out, and you'd spent like the last 7 years being like he needs like trained snipers aimed at his location at all times, like a fucking kennel of attack dogs ready to go as soon as he breaks free, like a dozen armed guards with fucking shock batons and I don't know, like fucking shotguns with beanbags. I don't know. I'm running out of ideas of.
I don't know. Entomb him in like concrete or something. I'm not sure.
Dude, that's
how do you?
I think that's also an acceptable way to go about this, right? Like you just build like a Chernobyl sarcophagus over it.
Right, exactly. I think that's the move. You know, he'll just live forever in there. But one day he's gonna get out and fuck some shit up.
I mean, if you just poured him in concrete, like the chemical reaction in concrete's actually very hot. So I mean, like you would die. Like,
okay, nice.
Yeah, he wouldn't survive that. Hopefully, and if he does, then I mean, it's just like all gloves are off. You know, like all of us should just mass suicide so Michael doesn't get us. It's only a matter of time.
So it's very odd, like, he kind of, at the beginning of the movie, he's a little kid, right? Mm-hmm. He sees his sister fucking her boyfriend or whatever. We see some titties.
Yeah, tits.
She was a playmate, by the way. Sandy Johnson.
Was she a playmate before or after?
Before.
Ooh, that's like, how much of the budget went to that?
I don't know, but I did see that Donald Pleasance got $20,000, which I think he was the big name.
I mean, it is like the 70s, you know, like people were pretty free with their nudity back then.
But, so he kills her, which, let's just go ahead and talk about this first scene because it is awesome. It's like this one long, uninterrupted take. Yeah. Using a Panaglide camera, which is similar to like the Steadicam, essentially. I think it was like the budget version almost, but it still was expensive for them, you know.
Dude, that's like the Kmart version of of the Steadicam.
But I still think I read that it took up most of their budget still. But yeah, it accomplishes the same thing. You can do all these new camera shots you couldn't do before, essentially. Like point of view, which is what we see here through the point of view of child Michael Myers. But yeah, so I mean, that scene, which apparently that was also the final scene they filmed because, you know, this takes place in the past. The house is all nice and stuff. But for the rest of the film, it's in the future, and it's like the dilapidated haunted house that's condemned or whatever.
That our main final girl's father is trying to sell.
Yep. So they... So what they did is they filmed the whole movie and then just like put wallpaper on it at the end for that final shot. But it's the opening one, but it's pretty badass. And I mean, that's kind of, arguably one of the best shots of the film, which is a beautiful film. Like,
and it has a child serial killer, which is just like, I feel like it turns people's stomachs a little more. You know, children are supposed to be innocent and sweet, and you're just like 10 years old, fucking cutting necks and writing checks, man.
Yeah, man. And this is before The Shining. I mean, doesn't Danny hold a knife at one point? Doesn't Danny hold a knife at one point, or no?
Yeah, but he's not like trying to kill anybody. He's doing.
But like, still, it's like a similar image.
Red rum.
Gotcha.
He's just screaming red rum or whatever.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, So, I mean, okay, going forward 15 years into the future, it's Halloween Eve, 1978. And
the spookiest day.
I guess Michael is broken out of his sanitarium.
Yeah, so Loomis and like a nurse pull up in a car that's actually been restored 100%. So
that's cool.
Yeah, it is.
Fun fact.
Cool. Yep. But they pull up to the sanitarium and there's just like a bunch of patients, I guess would be the right way to say that. But I think the scene is like, for me, I just think it would be so haunting to like pull up to an insane asylum where you're expecting the evil incarnate to try and break out. the first thing you see is just like patients everywhere. Like
Right.
you gotta know it's fucked from the get go.
They're out. They're out.
They're out. They're out.
Bad things are happening. Yeah, but I mean, maybe from the patient's perspective, like a one flew over the cuckoo's nest just happened.
Yeah, they're having a great time.
How do you know what's going on when you
Even
arrive?
though their leader and hero is going to be lobotomized in short order. I do love
It's all
that
just a
movie.
matter of perspective. Michael Myers, he's not that much different than Big Chief.
I think they're very different. Big Chief is a kind soul who releases his friend from a horrible fate.
That's true. They both have superhuman strength.
And then he well, you're right about that. And they are both huge. So that's actually a pretty good point. But we never see Michael Myers like throw a water fountain through a window to free his fellow.
I don't know if they say why Big Chief's in there. Maybe he stabbed some people. One thing...
He should totally be in there. Like, it's a possibility. I think Venture Brothers did a joke about that.
One thing that's interesting about Michael Myers is he's always going after his sister. So, like, okay, he kills his sister at the beginning. It's unclear. So, Jamie Lee Curtis, her character's name's Laurie. And, I mean, that's who he's really stalking. And it's not clear exactly why in this first film. He also kills her friends, but he primarily seems to be stalking her. Later in Halloween 2, it's introduced into the universe that, oh, that's actually his younger sister. So he's trying to annihilate his whole family one by one or whatever. And I guess their parents died in a car crash.
So he's a family annihilator. As many critics have, like, ascribed to this film, there's, like, a psychosexual element to Michael Myers. So it's like maybe we got some incest porn going on. It's certainly very popular these days.
I mean, it does kind of when he... So there's not a lot of blood in this movie. It's kind of like in the Psycho... In the same vein as Psycho, there's not a lot of blood. It relies more on suspense. I don't think there's any blood. And when Michael Myers stabs her, kind of in one of the more climactic scenes, really he just rips her clothes off, kind of.
I don't think we get any gushers. Like, you don't get the spray. But, I mean, I think you see, like, a little bit of blood when, like, whatever the glasses dude is named gets stabbed to, like, the fucking cabinet or fridge or whatever in the kitchen.
Okay, it's not bloodless. There is some blood. Boom. Boom, found it. But there's not a lot, right?
Yeah.
With the psychosexual tension of everything... A lot of serial killers see the act of stabbing as like an act of penetration or whatever. And obviously get sexual relief out of heinous acts of violence.
Yeah. That's how they blow their fucking loads. It's
Oh,
truly
yeah.
terrible.
Which, I mean, it's not like totally overt. Like, you know, you don't see like Michael Myers humping her or anything, but
You're right. You're right. This isn't
those undertones are there.
This isn't like the film Headless, where we have a gratuitous 6-minute scene of a masked serial killer fucking a throat hole. You're right.
You told me about that.
The
idea of someone
so
using
bad.
a severed head as a fleshlight just makes me... I don't know if this makes me weird, but it makes me uncomfortable.
I mean, I think it should, one. And two, a good friend of the show, Kaywood, bought the DVD, like the director's cut DVD of it, and it came with custom condoms.
What? What?
Yeah, dude. They like had like the word Headless or some shit printed on it. It was like part of the DVD package.
That's strange. That's strange.
So strange, man. It's so fucking strange.
That's all very deviant, and I don't know what to think about that. I'm good.
Deviant is just touching the surface of that. Because again, it is a film primarily about a man having sex with throat holes.
Yeah, like severed heads, right? To be clear.
You're right.
Wait, the hole, the neck hole, or the what? Which throat hole? How many throat holes are there?
We should say neck hole because
neck hole. Oh,
yeah,
into the spinal.
Well, no, decapitated head, fucking the open
Oh.
throat from the neck side down.
I mean, if you can get it to poke through and come out the mouth, that's kind of fun.
That's kind of fun, I guess. He like the world's fucking longest dick. You gave that a weird twist. To be clear, though, I shouldn't say throat hole. You're right, because, like, I mean, people describe regular, non-serial killer oral sex as throat. I heard a fun term the other day, throat goat. The throat goat.
That's a fun one.
That's a great one, man. I'd never heard it before, and it, like, tickled me pink for a while.
There you go. You ever seen the documentary called Tickled?
No.
It's fucked up, bro. It's fucked up. Watch that. Watch Tickled.
Okay, I will.
I guess, like, this guy, like, does this investigative journalism into this, like, men's platonic, like, tickling competitive league. And you...
how do you win at tickling? I mean, I know how you win at
tickling. It's tickling competitions, right? But, like, this guy unpeeled the onion or whatever, and at the center was, like, gay pornographic, like...
To the surprise,
people who are filming these tickling competitions for their own gratification.
To the surprise of no one, it ended in being something pornographic.
The entire competitive industry was all due to one dude just wanted to jack off to like guys tickling each other.
He like orchestrated an entire professional league.
He really did, dude.
I mean, I honestly, I tip of the hat to him. That's an incredible level of dedication and planning and foresight. I don't think anyone's ever any real athlete has ever considered tickling a sport. And this is a hill I will fucking die on. Like, it's somebody who at least at one point was athletic, you know, trending down.
It's a sport, but it's a cooperative sport like hacky sack.
The cooperative sport.
Everyone wins, okay?
God, you're gonna rip my stomach lining. That's the funniest thing you've ever said on the show. Oh God! All right, well, I'm glad that I should have known the competitive
Watch the documentary. It's so good. Like, dude, I'm not kidding. Top 5 documentaries Tickled. Everyone watch it. Fuck, we'll do an episode on Tickled for the Patreon.
I'm gonna have to.
It is a dark, gritty underworld of tickling competitions.
I don't want it to be that gritty though, because like right now it's all very silly and whimsical.
Well, it's all very silly and whimsical on the surface. It's when you peel back that layer.
Are there like classes where you could use like feathers?
I mean,
just fingertips,
so. And like they don't. None of the competitors were aware they were involved in anything sexual, but like that's what it was all about.
I mean, like in fairness, there's a lot of creeps out there who jerk off to all fucking variety of athletic events, men and women, as is.
I mean, their naivety matched Peggy Hill's in that episode of King of the Hill where someone wanted to like make a website all about her beautiful giant feet.
Exactly. It's a perfect analogy. But like I just don't know how anybody who's engaging in like filmed tickling competitions between two men isn't like at least somewhere in the back of their mind like somebody's fucking cranking one out to this. Like there's no way. There's no way.
Sure. I mean, that's valid. I mean, it is a skill to be impervious to like another man's tickle. That's a skill.
I mean,
it's a skill that could only be developed with lots of practice.
To be clear, I will say this: that like being tickled by somebody is just so dominating. Like just like you can't do anything but like twitch and squeal. It's just like. But anyways, I mean this. what a tangent. The tickled, dude, tickled.
Just watch it. Just rent it. It'll be worth it. Far Out Flicks endorsed.
I am going to watch it. You have me hooked. I am fascinated to see.
I think
where this
the
goes.
listeners want to hear your feedback after you watch it, but I mean that's the gist of it.
I mean, I'm going to come back next week and announce to everybody I'm quitting podcasting to pursue my career in competitive fucking male tickling.
It's so absurd.
Dude, I genuinely don't like tickling. I don't tickle people. Like,
We're
really.
back on tickling.
Dude, I would never tickle someone I care about. It's like,
I mean, it's cruel. It can be cruel.
it can be cruel.
Yeah, I hated that shit when I was a child. Jesus.
It's the worst. Everybody hates it. And I mean, I guess not everybody. Some people willfully subject themselves to. I think I would like genuinely rather be abducted by aliens.
What if the aliens
which
abduct
I'm
you?
scared of.
What if the
and
aliens
they,
just
and
want
they
to tickle you?
It's like that is my like worst nightmare because I mean like I love aliens but I'm a little scared of them, and then like the tickling, like I would rather have my dick
With
sucked
their
dry,
long
like,
ET fingers, bro.
dude, yeah. Fucking
And then
all
once
cold
the
and
hand job
soft.
starts, like you're too tickled to like get hard, and then it's embarrassing.
And then yeah, that's what I'm going to be concerned about in this situation. It's my
What the
inability to
worst
perform.
time to have ED?
We'll just work the prostate, bro.
I've
Don't
written
work
songs about this. It's all been leading up to this, and it
We
has
do.
to happen now. Now,
We do have a great song about a sexual alien abduction. But yeah, I would rather have my dick sucked by the Barney Hill machine than be tickled by a bunch of grays. Their soft fingers. I mean,
their butt plug shaped fingers.
dude, we're going on like a 10-minute tirade about fucking tickling. We got to bring it back.
This
Like,
is hilarious.
it is. I mean, it's also, yeah.
It's
fine.
totally unrelated. That's fine.
Yeah, I don't even know how we got on this, man.
So yeah, later on you find out that that is his sister, which I don't. What is the motivation? Is that what pure evil wants to do? It just targets family members, or
I mean, I think like family annihilators is like certainly gut wrenching. At least like people who care and love about their families.
well,
and
that's true.
And families that love and care about them. But I mean, he doesn't just kill family though. Like, I mean, he also has to punish the people having sex. That's like a huge part
That's
of this.
true. And I mean, he doesn't end up killing her.
Well,
Right?
he tries. Like
He
just
tries.
He doesn't succeed. Yeah, her character, she's like kind of like this more like withdrawn, like kind of like, you know, bookish chick. Jamie Lee Curtis said that she felt not uncomfortable, but like out of place playing that role because she actually like her actual real life high school experience was like more akin to her kind of like chatty friends, the less reserved ones. So it's
Right.
kind of, it's a little extra.
Yeah, she's a nerd,
factoid
and that's
for
what
you.
saves her.
That's what saves her. The nerds get to live, the sluts have to die, and that's just like the way the horror gods had it made. From
And she's still going because she's in these latest movies, right? She is like the mainstay. I mean, she's not in all of them, but
she should be like dead by now. So maybe that's like her the Myers family genes or whatever are just like superior, and they can all just get fucked up well beyond the point of killing anyone and just like keep coming back for sequels. But like she should have been dead after like the most recent Halloween reboot, and then they like had her, I guess, you know, in Halloween. I guess both of them. I mean, I haven't seen Halloween Ends, but she's in Halloween Kills.
yeah, I'm gonna watch it. I'll probably watch it today.
Yeah,
Why not?
why
But
not? Since
one
we're
of
spending
my,
our Halloween Friday nights fucking podcasting, might as well just stay in total recluse status.
might as well. But yeah, I mean, this film's just so influential. Again, really, yes, John Carpenter had some notoriety with Assault on Precinct 13, but like this was just, you know, it had his name right in the title. John Carpenter's Halloween. Like after that, he was famous and rich.
while it isn't, yeah, I mean, he made $7 million plus on this in a couple of years after release. You know, in the '80s, when $7 million was actually a huge sum of money. And I mean, of course, I can't say it's my favorite John Carpenter movie, but it doesn't mean that it isn't like damn near flawless. I just love The Thing so much, and Escape from New York, and fucking They Live, and In the Mouth of Madness. Like, those just like, they tickle the weird side of me the right way. But like, this is the perfect Halloween movie, the perfect horror movie.
The one he did right after this was The Fog, which also stars Jamie Lee Curtis.
It does.
And I'm trying to remember if
like
I've seen his version of The Fog. I feel like I saw the remake.
His is better. But I mean, I don't know. I'm also just like partial to a spooky port town. That kind of like, it speaks to me as well. It did, but this is like what put him on the map, and it is just so excellent.
I like the kill where he dresses up like a ghost and like fucking kills that chick
with the glasses.
Yeah,
yeah,
it's pretty fun. I guess that's after he like hangs that guy up with his knife or whatever.
Yeah.
They tell you that he's pure evil. They show you that by showing that he can't be killed, and at the end, like, he mysteriously disappears, right? Like, you can't kill evil. And they talk about that. You cannot kill evil.
Dude, fucking Mega Chad Loomis comes in and fucking fills him full of lead. Falls off a fucking, 2-story balcony or whatever. And then by the time, when the 3 seconds it takes for Loomis to get to the balcony to look over, he's gone. Escaped. That should have like shattered his spine. And he also got shot 6 times in the chest. That also should have killed him.
Yeah, and I mean, it's like, how is this film tied to Halloween, the holiday? I mean, is it the concept that on Halloween, or Samhain, or I think they call it's actually pronounced Samhain.
Yep.
If you want to get very nerdy about it, but is it this concept that evil like roams the earth on this day or something? Like, how does that tie in with this film, or does it even?
I mean, I think like the basic idea of like the unstoppable evil is part of it. Like on, so All Saints Day like follows Samhain or whatever. So it's like the whole Judaic Christian merging with pagan religions kind of situation.
Gotcha. So some like ways of looking at it could be Satan, or just this idea of evil.
Well, I mean, that like Satan
spirits.
is evil,
right.
To most Christians.
Sure.
So yes, but I mean, I think it is like kind of leaning more into like the pagan roots of like, this is like the day like the evil spirits walk the earth, and they are maybe impervious to our mortal weapons.
And maybe one got into Michael Myers' body that day or something, and now he's the physical embodiment of it.
Indeed.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it was a genius marketing move. When you hear that it was originally called The Babysitter Murders, it's like, I mean, they almost is kind of like they shoehorned it in at the last minute, which it sounds like it did kind of come in the middle of the creative process, but it's fucking genius. And I think this is the definitive Halloween movie, even if there's not all that much Halloween iconography in it. Like, you don't even see pumpkins that many times. Apparently, they had a really hard time sourcing the pumpkins in summer in California.
I'd believe that. They do have them for the opening credits, though, which is like...
Well, they found these, like, Central American giant green gourds that they ended up painting orange.
Oh, that's why they look kind of funny, huh?
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, other than just, like, the fact that it, the whole mask thing kind of allows Michael Myers to move around town that day.
That's valid. That's valid. Even though, I mean, that guy without, like, a kid next to him would be alarming.
I mean, some adults take Halloween very seriously.
I mean, if they're out trick-or-treating, that's weird.
Indeed.
I mean, I get it. No, I mean, it's not uncommon for people to be walking around in costumes and stuff, but the way he stalks her, I mean, even without, like, knowing the icon that is Michael Myers in that mask, like, if you saw that dude and then he darts behind the hedges or whatever, like, you'd be shitting your pants.
Yeah, it's very true.
But yeah, that's Halloween, folks.
Yeah, let's call it. Gosh. Technical difficulties, a tickling episode.
Watch Tickled. Watch Tickled.
We made it. We made it through.
We should have just done the episode about Tickled. That is a disturbing movie.
We'll get to it after the new year because the schedule is set for the rest of the fucking year. We're not changing it.
And we got actually more horror movies coming, right?
Oh, dude. Well, I mean, I picked the rest of the season or whatever, so you better bet your sweet fucking ass that there's going to be more horror movies.
Fuck yeah.
We're going to be riding horror up till fucking Christmas. Maybe New Year's. I don't know.
All the way through Christmas. Hard. Riding hard.
I think there actually might be a little variety, and if not, maybe we can swap a couple out. But there's going to be some more horror, folks, because, I mean, spooky season really should be like an actual season, 3 months, as opposed to just one.
That's true.
I need 90 days.
I'll give you that.
93, or 2, or whatever, the maximum 3 month.
When you're cooped inside, just trying to, watch some scary movies and stay warm.
Don't let the seasonal depression claim you. Yes. Yes, I'm very familiar with that.
Well, just want to give a sincere thank you to all the listeners. Thanks for listening to Far Out Flicks podcast. It's a lot of fun doing this, and you guys, you listeners, are what make us keep going.
It is. It's certainly not the ad money. Because we don't advertise. We love you guys so much we have no advertisements for now.
You're members of a small, very exclusive club.
We'll be sending you guys your official decoder rings and instructions on the secret handshake.
All right, thank you, Flickers.
Happy Halloween!